Hello and welcome to another episode of Moose's Gear Goo Review. I'm Moose, and today I'm doing a how-to video. So it's a DIY kind of how-to, and that is how to fix and secure blade centering. Now, there's probably dozens of ways to do it. I'm going to show you how I personally do it and what tools I use. I'm a pretty cheap and easy guy. And so this is the cheap and easy way to do it, as far as I know. So yeah. So one of the common occurrences with folding pocket knives, at some point, a lot of times they come in either off center, the blade centering is off, or over time the centering skews to one side or the other. That being said, usually it doesn't affect the actual functionality of the knife. The blade's still going to cut. The knife usually still opens. The only thing that may occur with off-center blade is that the blade itself will rub along the liner of the knife and will usually cause some sort of a ding, scrape, or scratch on the actual blade itself. And so to the common person who just uses and abuses their knives, that usually isn't a problem for them. But for a fan of knives or someone who is a true collector, little things like that can really irk us. So we always want to know that our knives are centered and they look good and pristine and in the best possible shape, fit, and finish that we can get them. That being said, I have two examples here. This is the Mini Archbishop by Ferrum Forge, and then this is the Kershaw Malt, obviously by Kershaw. Now, in my experience, blade centering oftentimes will occur with certain types of lock mechanisms, and those lock mechanisms are, what should we call it? Those lock mechanisms are going to be liner lock knives, like this. Both of these frame lock knives, like this one. And then I don't have an example because I conveniently misplaced it, but also compression lock knives, as well as sub frame locks, like on the knockouts. So, and usually that is because anytime the frame or the locking mechanism is pushing on the tang of the knife to engage it there, when it's closed, it has that lateral pressure that's usually going to be pushing the blade to one side. And that occurs in all those different locking mechanisms. So on this Ferrum Forge Mini Archbishop, we have the lock on this side, and it's pushing and it's causing the centering of the blade to move. Now, if that's not the cause of it specifically, then the other cause would be an over tightening of the pivot pin. That or any other sort of alignment issues with any of the structural bolts or screws along the frame of the knife. I've had knife miscenterings because the kind of butt end screws were either too loose or too tight, and that created play. I've had uncentered blades because the stop pin, if you tighten it, like on the Para 2, if you don't tighten that down tight enough, it will cause some misalignments. And then as well as just different little things like that. So if the pivot pin is over tightened, a lot of times it'll overcompensate and then bring it to the other side. Now, the knives that I've found that usually don't have a tremendous amount of blade play are usually ones that have symmetrical locking mechanisms, like an axis lock, and then like back locks, because they lock on the top. So back locks, and then of course friction folders, like your typical Swiss Army knife. Now those you don't need to worry about blade play because they are designed specifically to fit in a certain line so that the other tools will also fit. So there's a little quick talk on that. Now, how do we actually get into this? Now, the first way, and usually the way that I do to fix this problem, is you need a hex bit screwdriver. This is the Kershaw hex bit tool. It's one of the cheapest ones you can get out there, and that's what I'll be using. And so what you do is you kind of tighten the bolt or the pivot pin until that centering moves to the center. Okay, so now it's much more centered there. Now the other thing what you want to do is you want to test to make sure that the action is still there, because if you over tighten it, the knife generally won't be able to fire like it normally would. It won't be as smooth, or it's too tight. And here I kind of over tightened so it's slightly, but actually it looks pretty good there. On this one, we're gonna tighten, or loosen in this case, and see how it's centered? And that's where we want it. Okay, so that's easy enough to fix. So then how do we keep it from getting loose again? Well, the key to that is we use thread lock or Loctite, and you want to go for the blue because the blue is like a medium hold for use where disassembly is common. So it'll hold it, but you're able to break the thread lock and still disassemble the knife if you need to for cleaning and whatnot. So always go blue. If you go red, it's dead. Okay, so now that I kind of know where I need to go, I have to actually remove the full screw from the knife, and you can keep the other side in. We're not going to take the blade out, but what we want to do is kind of, and I use Q-tips, kind of want to clean the bolt threads off the best you can initially. All right, and then we're gonna take our blue Loctite, or thread lock, or whatever brand it is, and then we're just going to, oh yeah, you want to shake this up before you do it. And we're just gonna apply some to the Q-tip, and then we're just gonna slightly put a light coating on the actual pivot screw here. And it might be hard to pick up, but you can kind of see it's blue there now. So I just want to put a little, and then we're going to put the screw back in, recenter it, and screw it down until we get that centering that we're looking for. So now it's getting tighter. Maybe just a little titch, and you might have to play around with it just a little bit. That looks pretty dead center. So now you can do like one quick flick, make sure that the action's where you want it, but then you have to let it sit. So you have to let it sit for a minute or two. And actually no, you actually have to let it, they recommend that you let it sit for like 24 hours or something. Usually 6 hours is pretty good. But yeah. And there you go. So that's how you do it. We'll do it one more time with this one. Now this one, remember, was over tightened. So now we're going to get this open. I'll take another Q-tip, clean it off a little. and then pink blue. Make it a bit more. Try to make sure there's no fibers on it because you don't want it to get gunked up that way. And then we're going to drop it back in and screw her down. So, get this one. That looks good. Test it. Flies open really well. And yeah, so now I let them sit. So there you have it, guys. Pretty simple, easy way to do it. Remember, you just need your hex bit tool. You need Q-tips, maybe paper towel or two, and some blue thread lock or Loctite, and you're good to go. Other than that, let them sit for probably 6 hours for that to really set in. And if for whatever reason the centering goes off again, it's pretty simple fix to readjust that. And that's the most common way to fix it. Like I said, there's dozens of other ways, probably other chemicals as well, and different tools, but that's the cheap and easy way to do it. So there you have it, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Share it with any of your friends who need help centering their blades. And thank you. I'll see you outside. Peace.